Okay. It's a little slow, but it's preparing to live stream now.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay, it's streaming. Sorry about that.
Okay, so this is a town hall meeting in the absence of Jeremy, but in the presence of Sarah Gelbard and Vivek Badami. Nice to see you, Vivek. And Rafli, whose name I recognize, but story I forget. Nice to see you, Rafli. Jeremy is not with us today, but we're going to do a quick cruise through current posts on the hub. And for that, Sarah, do you want to screen share and walk us through them?
Uh,
Or I can do that if you give me my cheat sheet.
yeah, so John, I have a little bit of trouble with the screen share. Can you screen share? I'm happy to go and read through them if you want to, you can, but
Sure, but I think
if
I
I,
need, um,
okay. Um, let me, um, do you have your email open?
I do.
Okay. Um, hang on one second.
I think Rafli is asking if it's okay for him to be here, of course. Yes.
Absolutely. Roughly, while Sarah is pulling up the background information, um, would you tell us where you're from? A little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm sorry. My English little bit bad. Okay. Let me introduce myself. I'm Rafli Miasa, and I'm from Indonesia. And now I am a leader e-NABLE Indonesia. Yeah, I post everything I need to post in Instagram, Facebook, and e-NABLE.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, how nice to meet you. Indonesia is a very large place, but it's great to have you with us. It would be useful to make sure that your chapter is alive and well on the map, but I'm not going to work on that now. What I'm going to do is go to these links. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. I trust you can see it. And it says, I'm new at e-NABLE. My 12-year-old son. Nice. And he's in Pakistan. And he's got one client and 4 more in the pipeline. All right, so here we have someone who's active, engaged, and has made contact with potential partners. So this is just a a message of introduction. Sarah, do you know, is there anything we need to do?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we had any connections near them and if there was any way that we could support them beyond welcoming them to the
Yes.
community.
I think I will just write a note saying, so glad to hear about your son and your connections. Please keep us posted and let us know how we can support you. And do we know where in Pakistan? No. Where are you located? And I'd like to talk about eco-restoration also. Well, about work at regenerative agriculture is the right way to put it. Okay, anything else you would add at this point?
No, I think that's
Off it
great.
goes. Next. Sarah and her son. Hello, I stumbled along. My son has a limb difference, is missing the fingers and half his palm on his left hand due to a lack of blood flow to his hand. I've looked into a prosthetic, was told they couldn't create a functioning one without putting through, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the answer is we should see some pictures. Sarah, it would be helpful to see some pictures of your son's hand and tell us a little more about him, his age, is the hand sensitive to pain, particularly sensitive to pain. How old is he? Oh, I got that. You can post here if you like, or send directly to me. I'm gonna leave it that way. Better to do it that way. All right.
I think,
Yes, is there something you want to
I
add?
think, no, I think Rafli has a question.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Rafli. Do
Go
you
ahead,
want to say
Rafli.
something?
Here is Rafli's own post in the hub also.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm translate to English.
Roughly, we have your message here, and it does tell a story.
Maybe I can use Google Translate for sound.
So I didn't understand that. Did anyone?
No, can I use this Google Translate for sound English for you?
Of course.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I want to ask how about my funding application yesterday?
You hear?
Where did you send your funding application?
In proposal in Romeo, maybe.
Let's take a look.
Yeah. You know, enable Vancouver. He closed. He closed. His chapter. And wait.
I don't see your application roughly.
I. I'm sorry, Don. You can check my message messenger in enable hook.
Okay. So here we are looking at your message. My suggestion roughly would be to post about e-NABLE on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media you think Indonesians in your region might pay attention to. Start by making them aware of what happens, and then build a community that way of people who are interested, not necessarily in jumping in and doing it, but just people who are sympathetic. And you'll build a community gradually, and then you'll begin to see what is really possible. So start by building a social community, not by trying to deliver hands. We have an interesting story, and if you find other people who are interested in this story, you'll have people to collaborate with. Any other suggestions for roughly?
No, I think that's a great place to start.
Yesterday we submitted a proposal to Lumio and it was approved.
That's not possible. So that is a long process that requires review by the whole community, and then there's a 10-day voting period, so it's not possible to submit a proposal and have it approved the next day.
Here, this is from Roughly. So let's take a look and see what it is. Hello, he says. I apologize. No apology needed. So you're hoping to get some of what e-NABLE Vancouver has some equipment to donate? No, some funds. Roughly.
Yes.
My advice, I'm going to stick with my advice. Before people send money, they're going to want to have a better understanding of the opportunity and the challenges. So, and they're unlikely to send it to one person if he's not part of a team. So I think the first thing is to do what I said. See if there are other people interested in doing this kind of thing by building a social media network of people interested in e-NABLE. And keep us posted as that happens. And do that on the hub as well as in Facebook or Instagram. See if there are other people in Indonesia who you can work with and build a team, and then we can help you shape a proposal.
Wait,
Roughly, would it be easier for you if I wrote out if I wrote that out and then you could Google translate it?
I'm sorry, Sarah. Can you type because
Yes.
your type so fast. I'm so sorry.
Roughly, give us your email and we will
Okay.
email you.
You need my email or enable Indonesia email. I have enable Indonesia email.
That would be great.
Okay.
And Sarah, I think establishing a dialogue with Roughly, giving him
Yep.
some of this advice and helping us get a feel for what the real opportunities are through direct communication between you and Roughly would be very helpful.
Okay.
And of course, let me know how I can help. And we can communicate with Roughly through the hub as well. So that's the next step. Okay, moving on. Thibaut Juk has a plexus injury, lost function of the arm, wants some kind of an orthesis, but the devices are incredibly expensive. He is a beginner and he provides, wow. So he wants, you know, a full-fledged orthotic, and he is seeking to build a team. Vivek, I just wonder, here's his email. I just think this is too challenging a problem. I don't have much to add to this. There
Yeah,
have
this
been, here's what I can say. Devices for manipulating a physically intact but non-functional arm are very challenging because they have to do a lot of work. So they probably need to be motorized and they need to be very robust. We've worked on it in the past and we haven't really made it through. There are commercial devices out there, as he's aware, but they're very expensive, and they're expensive in part because it's a difficult challenge.
yep. Indeed.
So I don't know that we have much to offer here, and that's what I'm going to say, unless other people have other comments.
Mhm.
No, I agree. It just seems, based on what I'm seeing so far, it's just very hard to do.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'm having trouble finding the right way to respond. Can you give that response, Sarah, after the meeting? So I'll move on.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. That's Thibaut James Eagle. Fundraising. So Eagle Scouts. So here's an Eagle Scout project from Chappaqua, New York, which I think is on Long Island. He has a plan, but he wants feedback. The critical, you know what I think? I think the advice in this case, because we've been down this path before, would be to do exactly what he wants to do, but do it around assistive technology devices, devices that makers making change or others would add to their collection. Those devices can be made generically and then they're useful to other people. Whereas the prosthetics need to be customized, and building them in advance in a build-a-thon typically results in a bunch of devices that don't end up going anywhere. But I think what he's trying to do in terms of organizing a team, using the school's printers, doing useful things, would be great for assistive devices. And so we should look, I think Ian Roy has some assistive devices like door handle openers and cup holder openers and so on. But I would suggest that he reach out to makers making change, see if they have what devices they would like to have an inventory of, and then he can revise his plan around that and then send them to makers making change. And by the way, let us know how the whole project went, because we are eager to encourage other people to do this kind of thing with assistive devices. Did that all make sense, Sarah?
Yes,
And will you convey that?
yes.
All right. Vivek, anything to add?
No, I think I was just at Brandeis yesterday, met with Ian, and he showed me around the Maker Labs, and that's exactly right. There's pretty neat stuff that he showed in terms of simple assistive devices. So, yep,
That's great. I'm
sounds
glad
right.
you were there.
Yeah.
It's very impressive what he's got there. So that would be great.
Very nice. Yep.
A 3-year-old boy. 3 years is the minimum. 4 is better. Okay, I think this one has been handled appropriately by the expert. So we continue. Christoph. Ian Davis's contact. Well, this is interesting. This is a whole new design. It looks really interesting. This is a video I'm not familiar with. Let's take a look at it. 46 seconds. We can afford the time.
Just debated JD Van.
No,
If you were
no,
looking for the
no.
right time to make a donation, the time is now.
Far be it from me to make a political appeal.
Make a quick little video to show you the progress that I've made on what started out a little over a month ago as nothing more than a thought exercise, but has now turned into a 3D printed prosthetic hand. Sure, it's still in the early stages, but it really shows some promise. Let me show you some of his features. It's still pretty early. Right now, I'm on my third major design, fourth set of minor designs. So here it is. It's a crossed 4-link design that allows for 250 degrees worth of motion with a little less than a half an inch worth of input distance, which is really good for travel on the wrist, really lousy for force multiplication. But we can take care of a lot of that throughout the lever and gear works on the forearm assembly. So the whole idea behind this thought experiment was to see how small, light, and low a part count that I could make a prosthetic finger. So I'm down to like 8 or 9 major components on these fingers. One of the things that I was able to implement on this that I was pretty excited about, that I've been trying to implement on my aluminum hands for quite a while, is the slide-on distal tactile pads. So I print these out of 95A TPU, and they just slide on to the ABS finger in this version. I've been looking to try to do that on the aluminum fingers. I just haven't had the time to program it up, machine it, and change what already kind of works pretty well. But this is pretty encouraging. One of the things that's kind of a step backwards in the design is that, unlike on this hand, when the proximal section of the finger stops, the motion of the rest of the finger also stops. Whereas on this.
Okay, so Ian Davis is a really interesting person. He can be found, there we go, patreon.com Ian Davis, and 2 more links. All right. And you can even find the email address. I'm not a robot. This, of course, defeats all of YouTube security because we're capturing this. Nonetheless, there we go. So click, 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 click. And I can say a little probing of this video, a little probing on YouTube. Please reach out to him and encourage him to share his person and his work with e-NABLE. Okay. Next. Christoph wants to make a kinetic arm. Roughly is participating. Okay. Well, this is great. And these are the right people having the right conversation. And roughly, thank you for your contribution. And I have nothing to add. I appreciate this collaboration. Keep us posted. Next. Uganda.
This
Five-
is a
Yes.
few months old. I didn't see it because he didn't post it on the hub. He posted it on his profile and I just saw it, but yeah.
So this person has numbers and is identifying a huge need and providing. So the first thing we want to do is, let's see if we can, is to communicate with him directly. Here's his profile. He's a business person. So, this is a relationship worth pursuing. He's involved in business administration, project management, and he gives numbers. He seems like a serious player in a country in need. And it's just by virtue of luck and your diligence, Sarah, that you've found him. So let's reach out to him directly and see what we can do. If he really has 500 people in need and he's a business administration person who can help us break the shipping barrier, it might be a way to create a real pipeline. It's worth finding out.
Yeah, I will follow up with him.
Okay. Good catch. Thanks for finding him. Ethan. Great. All I can say is it's a good question to ask. I hope he gets some answers.
a way to reach out to like documentation of recipients that we can reach out? I mean, because we should be able to reach out to them and say, how has it been going with your e-NABLE device?
Well, that would be dynamite, wouldn't it? But for that to happen, so, you could, the e-NABLE hub probably has a number of completed cases by now with contact information, and a round of follow-ups would be exactly the right thing to do. In general, that's the closest we've come to having a list of sort of a good paper trail to our recipients. Often these devices are made by volunteers and then they're off to the recipient. And despite our best efforts, the community has not done a good job of documenting them outside of the e-NABLE hub. But Sarah, now that you're no longer burdened by the chapters inventory, and congratulations and thanks, you're quite right that starting there and just trying to see if we can get some feedback from a list of known recipients would be a really great thing to do. And you might even ask that person if he would like to collaborate with you on that process. So it gives him some immediate action opportunities and doesn't burden you with all of the bookkeeping.
Where can I find the contacts for completed cases?
I think you'd need to talk to Jeremy about that,
Okay.
but they're in the e-NABLE hub database, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay.
Great. And follow up with Ethan, because he
Okay.
might be a good partner in an effort like that. All right. Greg knows someone who has a stroke. Same story as before. Now let's see, Christoph has come up with some things. Let's see what he comes up with. That looks perfect. Interesting. And well, this is new to me. Let's take a look at this.
My name is Quentin Morley. This is my Phoenix Reborn hand. 45%.
Got it.
Let's go to the Team Unlimited Gauntlet tensioner. Talk more about the tensioner in a minute.
It's an interesting approach. Instead of manipulating the residual limb, you attach a wrist-operated device to the limb. Okay, that's a nice idea. Here is, all right, so this is, it would seem, Sarah, a new attempt to create the device that I said we have not been able to do in the past. Here's a study. Obviously, I'm not really reading it, but it looks like a credible study, which I can attest is relevant to the problem we have failed to solve ourselves. So I would suggest that, Sarah, we go back to the earlier person who was asking for a solution of that sort, and you connect Greg and Christoph and these specific references.
Okay. This was to one of the first posts from today.
Okay.
No, I'm confirming with you. Which post are you referring to?
Well, I'll go back to the list. It was number 1 or number 2. Let's see. No. One of these
Was
early
it number
ones,
3? Or
well, let's check.
no?
No, I think it was the guy who had a motorcycle accident. Let's try Tebow.
Oh, right, number 4. Okay.
Ended up
Yes.
with a plexus injury, lost function in his arm. So this is the one I was referring to. We don't
Okay.
know enough detail, but it could be relevant. I mean, if he doesn't have wrist action, it's not relevant. But this device, so he's looking for something that would drive the elbow as well as manipulate the hands. This component is relevant to the person we're just looking at. So my suggestion is to just try to get these parties talking to each other and reviewing the state of the art of devices that deal not with amputation, but with loss of control. Because this diagram, whatever it's from, and this thing that we were just looking at are both advances on the problem. And they might be able to build on those advances. So all I'm saying is connect these people with
Okay.
each other, including with Christoph's reference to that scientific paper, and encourage them to get together and compare notes. If they'd like to do that with you or me as a mediator, happy to do that. But basically, there's a potential team there that should know about each other's work, and they're not reading the hub as diligently as you are, but that's why we pay you the big bucks.
Hey,
Okay.
John,
Yes.
this seems like an interesting guy to try and get to the next Bionics forum if we want to know more about what he's doing and what he needs.
Perfect. Well then, Vivek, why don't you take it on?
Yeah,
Try
let
to
me
connect
try
these
and get
people
hold
to
of
each
him.
other, and a session devoted to this problem, which I don't even know how to describe. I guess I would say orthotic solutions for upper limbs is really a very good topic, and it might well be one in which a bionic solution would be possible.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
typing up a email to both those guys and see if,
Terrific.
not email,
Thank you.
in e-NABLE.
Okay, so there was a new comment on an old post. So if you scroll back down,
So roughly
uh,
is looking for
no, that was from
Yeah.
June, but the link was, that was the comment, from Bangladesh.
right.
So I wasn't sure if he meant to comment or make a new post on the hub. Sometimes people comment on other people's posts when they mean to make a
Yes,
new
you're right.
post, and I was just wondering if we had connections for
I'm not aware of
this
anything
person.
cooking in Bangladesh. But you're quite right that he posted in the wrong place, and there may be other people from Bangladesh. So helping him post into the general forum is a good idea. Looking at the map on his behalf is a good idea. And Bangladesh and Pakistan are on the border with each other. I don't know how the relations are, and they're both very big countries, but it might be worth writing a letter to both of them, the Pakistani gentleman and the Bangladeshi gentleman, with general advice about looking at the map, about telling us more about their situation, etc.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I went through the list. That was helpful, Sarah, and I think we've got some good leads there. And I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Okay.
And
And I just wanted to very quickly mention the calendar. So most of our meetings this month are on the 18th. So the Friday after next, we have our next town hall. And right after that, we have Bionic Design Group I don't know if you, Vivek, you wanted to share anything about that. I know we started talking about it.
Yeah.
But
So,
and then right after
yeah.
the bionic design meeting, we have another meeting for education and new members. So it will be a lot of meetings next Friday. Everyone, please join us. And then the last week
Yeah,
in
so-
October, we have chapter leaders and on Monday, and then healthcare with Tanara on Friday. So I'm sorry, Vivek, to
Yeah, on
um,
that. Yeah, sorry. So on that Bionic Design Forum point, I don't have a speaker as yet, but I've reaching out as we speak to these folks here. And I also tried to get hold of Nico Huchet, that's the right way to pronounce it, and Mike Dom. I think, John, you had mentioned him. They're both on the French e-NABLE side. So I've actually connected to both of them in LinkedIn. I couldn't figure out how to talk on the French e-NABLE site yet. And I haven't heard back, but do you have a direct connection with either of them, or it's just
No,
through these?
I don't.
Okay. Okay.
But I will
If
remind you that if they're on the hub, you have that channel as well.
I couldn't
And as
find
you
them on
saw
our
with
hub.
regard to YouTube, there's often backdoor ways of getting this information. It takes some sleuthing, but I don't have any direct connections myself.
Yeah, they're not on the US e-NABLE site. I looked. But okay. Yep. All right. That's it. That's
Okay.
all from me.
So, yeah, Sarah, I don't have the chapter leaders meeting on my calendar. So I'll ask you to put it
you
there.
should. I invited you to it. So
What's the date?
the 21st.
Click 21st. Yes, I do have it on my calendar. Great. Okay. So good. Okay. Anything else we should discuss while we're here? Sarah, you've got a number of follow-ups, and you know, the one of the patterns is that we
Do you want me to stop the town hall, or is
no
or are
no
we okay?
my
Okay.
concluding remark
Okay.
is to note that there is a continuing need around the world and a continuing desire for people to get on board.
Yes.
We've learned enough that we're now somewhat cautious about setting false expectations. I think people should understand that you don't just jump in and do a chapter unless you've got a lot of resources, a lot of energy, and a first recipient. But what you do is become part of the community. And then partly through these town hall meetings and partly through the work that happens in the background, we try to help people build up their expertise and their capacity until we can find a real opportunity to do things. And that's the process. And it might be helpful, Sarah, for you to think about an article that just explains that, or to add it to the welcome page on the hub, so that as people join the community, they realize that we are here to help, but we're also here to avoid people being disappointed by being too ambitious too quickly. Just a closing thought and a sermon as we recognize that we continue to put things together, that good things do happen, but that we're still trying to figure out how to do it better.
That makes sense. I can definitely incorporate that sentiment somewhere where people can see it. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Roughly, thank you for joining us. Vivek, let us know how your bionic meeting develops. I know you don't have a topic yet, but something's going to happen. And actually, that's there's a good chance that's one I would like to attend also. So if you can make sure that it's on my radar, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Yep, I'll be there. We'll hopefully have someone else show up. So,
Okay.
great.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Yep.
Okay.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you all.